Hello, I'm starting a new tutorial series based on Udacity's project called MyReads. It's a book lending app. I got a lot of requests from people asking me to explain different parts of the project, and I've decided to go ahead and revamp the previous tutorial that I created on this project. I'm creating this new series because there are newer features of React that I want to take advantage of, that I want to use. So I'm going to be using mainly functional components, and I'll explain along the way. And some of the things we're going to be covering are how to restructure your app, state management, API integration in React, search functionality, React router, etc. So what is the MyReads project? So I'm just going to go ahead and open up the GitHub startup project, and I'm going to just go ahead and download that. I already did that already, so I'm just going to go ahead and do npm install here and npm start. All right. So I went ahead and did npm install and npm start. You have a book, a MyReads project, where that contains a series of different shelves, and you can pretty much go ahead and search for by author, by title, and based on your search, you can add books to different shelves. I'm currently reading Want to Read and Read shelf. This doesn't do anything right now, and they have a set of requirements that you need to complete for you to pass the project. Now, you don't have to be in Udacity program to benefit from this tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing you want to do when you're planning an app, when you're building a React app, is to plan how the components are going to exchange data. What are the components that are going to be in your React app, and understand how data is going to flow between the components. For example, let's see, I have a screenshot here, just kind of like explain that process. So imagine you get a mock-up, right? You're in a in industry or working, and you are to develop a React app. You may have to work with a UX designer who will give you certain mockups, and you need to break that out. You need to interpret that in React, right? So you want to plan how you want to define your components to allow for reusability in your code. It's very important, and React works, it's component based, so you need to keep that in mind. And here I'm going to just explain what I have here. So I think about this app as a one whole piece. Pretty much we have a main page, and we have the header here, and you have shelves, right? So I call it shelf, you call it, you know, shelves manager or whatever. But you have the header and the body, and in the body, which I call shelves, has shelf. So this is a shelf called currently reading. This is a shelf called want to read, and this is a shelf called read. And inside the shelf, we have a book, right? So a shelf contains multiple books. So I'm beginning to see what my components are going to be named. I'll call this an header. I'll call this whole thing here a shelves, and I'm going to call this shelf, and I'm going to call this book. And you could have other things that you could break your React application into series of components that make sense, and we can go ahead and further even have like in the books, you could have like, this drop down, or you could have the title component, but I won't go uh, that granular because it doesn't quite make sense for this. But you could, right, if you find a use case for it. And you see here, there's a button. You could have a button component, and this could be important if you want to reuse this component different places, right? And if I click on this and I goes to the search page, which is this, I have one big page. So and inside that page we have like the search bar, and you have like a body, right, that is going to contain a list of books. So if you search, you're going to have like series of books that you're going to display here. That's how I'm going to interpret or break down this app, and it's going to explain. You're going to get more insight into why I did this in the tutorial, as I explained. So let's go ahead and get into the code. So I have right now just a giant HTML. Well, it's not HTML. It's a React application, but it's not advisable to build your app this way. It's just doesn't promote reusability, and you might get a legacy code if you're working in an industry where you need to revamp the app and just break it down into components. So a lot of reasons why you want to do that. And I'm going to explain that more. And you see here, right, all of this content are static. So they are currently static right now, but you're going to be reading data. You're going to be calling an API that's going to give you a data, a JSON, say a JSON object, and you want to go ahead and render your components using that data that you got back. So having like it all static here wouldn't help. So these are all of the things we're going to be doing and improving on. So first, I'm going to go ahead and create a folder called components. Components, and I said I was going to have like a shelf. I'm going to have shelves. Okay, .js. Shelf. JS. I'm going to have book.js. Okay, a book. What else? Let's keep that for now. And pretty much I'm just gonna import like basic what's usually import React from React, and I'm gonna usually you're gonna do class, say book, extends component, and then you want to do export default book. And I'm just going to copy this and paste everywhere, and I'll come back and explain something. I'm going to change this to this is shelf. Shelves. Now, this is a class-based component, but I want to explain more in functional components because it helps us to use some of the new features of React, such as use state and hooks and stuff. So if I want to do that and convert this to a functional component, all I need to just do is to say constant shelf. I'm going to remove this equals this, and that is it. And you understand why I did that later. But let's go ahead and start breaking down our app. Now, This, if you look at the rendered page here, you see, we can see how, let's look at the code and compare. You see here, we have books grid. Okay, so they have right now, we have search. This is the search page. And then you have, this is the main page, right? And here you have my reads, which is kind of like the header component, which, yeah, I need to create a header component here also. Let's say header.js. Okay. And then you have like the body, right? And this body is what we're gonna call our shelves. And inside the shelves, you have different shelves. So this is one of a shelf. This is a shelf called currently reading, and you have the you have inside currently reading you have books. So we're gonna break all of this down into their different, move them around. But think about the way data is being passed down here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and we're gonna change this later, but think about, we have a state called books, right? And this is what we're gonna be getting from the from our app, right? Like when we make an API call, we're gonna get list of books, and this list of books we're gonna be rendering into shelves, right? We're gonna pass it on to shelves, and shelves knows how to go ahead and put it into their different shelf. So shelves is gonna say, okay, say I'm gonna have in shelf, I'm gonna have what we call say currently reading shelf, and I'm gonna have what we call want to read shelf. I'm gonna have what we call read shelf. Okay, and at the end of the day, what we're gonna be doing is, say we have a shelf. So I'm gonna just go ahead and import shelf here. From shelf, and we're gonna just say return something like this. So we're gonna go ahead and return something like this shelf, and and you're gonna have like different shelves in a bit, something like this. But anyway, this needs to be, for example, in a div, because we have to have a parent. So something like this, and then you're gonna have the touch shelf, right? So, and this shelf gonna be something like the title. So we're gonna have something like title, and we're gonna call it like, say we're gonna call it currently reading, and we're gonna pass it books, right? And just gonna pass it something. So let's say we pass it, currently reading, right? This is how we're gonna have this defined. Now, how, I don't want to talk about state management yet, but I'm gonna come back to it. But this is just kind of like letting you understand how we're gonna break this down even further. And inside shelf, shelf is gonna render the list of books, the currently reading shelf, and so on. So let's go back to the app and look at what a shelf look like. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this one and collapse this one. And you have this bookshelf and you have this bookshelf. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this one. Okay. So you see, and you have a div, you have this div just right here. So all of this is a shelf. Just copy this. And I'm going to convert this also to a functional component. Just return this. Oops. Okay, let's copy from here. Okay, so right here. All right, so this is a shelf. And like I was explaining the other time also with shelves, a shelf is going to contain books. So it's going to take in a book here. It's going to take in a book props, and it's just going to go ahead and render the books. And it's going to just like take that book and render that. But one thing is that how do we define the books that we're going to be passing into our components? We're going to get there in a bit. But also think about this, that each book, if for a bookshelf, you're going to have books, right? So, and a book starts somewhere from here. So this is a book, and this is a book. So I'm just going to copy one of these for now. Okay, and put it here and say, all right, I do need to do this also. Constant books equals to and return this. Okay. All right, and then one other thing is let's go ahead and import Refactor too, and constant. Let's say header equals to, and then export default header, and then here this is going to be a stateless component. So I'm just going to copy this and put it right here, and then import that here. So let's go ahead and import it here. Import header. Okay, and I'm going to remove this. Just put here header. Okay, and then still renders. And now think about books. What is the structure of your books going to look like before we go ahead and delete some of these things here? So your book is going to look like this, something like this. It's an array, and inside that you're going to have a bunch of objects, right? And what is right being rendered right here? You can see from the page that, or from here, that a book actually has URL. So a lot of them have URL. So I'm just going to start writing this down here. So URL, and it's going to have, the book's going to have what we call title, and we're going to have author. Okay, so we have author, and also think about it, because we also have like, where is the book gonna be on, which shelf? So I'm just gonna write shelf here, shelf, right? And let's just go ahead and factor out that code real quick. So inside a URL, or we can actually call it image, but I'll leave it as URL, right? For now. So copy this one and put it here. So, and then copy the title. So eventually we're going to integrate with an API, but I want to see how, yeah, you like just explain like this process without integrating an API yet. So make it simple enough. Auto. And this book is on want to, actually, yeah, this book's on currently reading. So I'm just going to say currently reading here. Okay, and I'm going to repeat that process to kind of like list out all the objects, all the books that I have rendered right here. All right. So since we have two books currently reading, and two books on want to read, and then three books on the red shelf. So so what am I going to do then is I'm going to go ahead and just start removing code from here. So remember, right, this is gonna take in, all of this is gonna be a shelf. It's gonna be shelves component. So we got shelves. So all of this is shelves, and you see we actually have shelves this way. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of this and just bring in shelves here. Okay. All right, so it got imported for us. So, all right, we're running into errors, but we're going to fix that in a moment. So, and in shelves, so this shelves is going to take in books, right? So I'm just going to say books and just say this.state.books. And I'm going to be converting this to a functional component too very soon. Just hold on. So I'm going to go into shelves and then work out the details in here. So coming to shelves, so shelves is going to take in books from the app component. So I'm going to say books, right? And then it needs to know how to render that now. So I'm just going to say books. This is going to be books.filter, right? So I want to filter these books and passing a function and say for each of the book, only return book dot shelf equals to currently reading. Right, remember we have the shelf that each of the books are here, defined here. So currently reading, and I'm gonna go ahead and Do the same here, same here. But this one is called want to read, and this is called read. Okay, and this is going to be, and then also I'm going to copy this one here for now. And this is going to be want to read, and it's going to be read. Now, let's go ahead and look into the shelf, right? So in a shelf, like a shelf is going to take a list of books. It's going to take a book array and render those books, right? So right now, we know what our book look like. So let's go ahead and interpret. This module not found, can't resolve the shelf. Oh, let's see. Shelves. Let's see what this error is real quick. Oh, my bad. Let's fix that one. Okay. Oh, this is gonna be want to read, what to read, and this is gonna be read. But it's still gonna what to read. All right, but it's still gonna be same because right now we are just rendering static component here. So let's go ahead and factor out. Let's remove this one real quick. Okay, so I will remove from here this book, and instead I should be rendering a book, right? This is what we need to do, right? Now, and also here we're going to be, and it says book is not defined because we need to import book. I'm just going to say import book from book, right? Okay. Now, there is a way you can actually iterate through the books you're going to get here and render it. So ideally, we don't even need this one right here. So I'm going to remove this because we're going to loop through all the books we have. We're going to just loop through right here and say books.map. So for each of the books we're going to get, what I want to say is book, and I'm going to map that into, so here I'm just going to say copy this one and put it here. And so we have this. Oh, we need one more of this. Okay. All right. So we're going to have, and for each of the book, we want to pass in the book, right? So a book is going to get a, let's pass in a prop, call it a book object, right? So for each book, we're just going to pass it into a book. Okay, just to differentiate, I'm just going to say for each B as a book, it's going to do this, right? So you can see here that our book is going to take in a component. It's going to take in a prop. So let's come back here. And now this book is going to take a prop called book. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Let's see. And right here, I'm going to go ahead and pass in. We're going to remove this. And here we're going to pass in book.url. Okay. And right here, we're going to pass in book.title. And here, it's book.author. Okay. Now, see, everything is still rendering. So now, okay. Yeah, cool. So now everything renders as it should, but now more dynamically. So we have book, component, we have shelf, we have shelves, and we have header, and here we have shelves. So our app looks even way simplified now. It looks much better. So we're going to stop here on refactoring or restructuring your code. You can see everything looks as it should. In the follow-up video, we're going to be talking about state management in React. So if you like my video, please go ahead and like and also subscribe for more.